Welcome to the session on Introduction to Export Merchandising. This is part of session 1 and the name of the subject is Export Merchandising Exim Documentation. We're going to talk about export merchandising. Now, there's a difference between retail merchandising and export merchandising. When we talk about export merchandising, especially in context of garments, then a merchandiser in an export house has to look at all the activities which are required to take the orders from an overseas buyer, and once the export house has secured the order, then the merchandiser has to ensure that all the activities are undertaken by various departments in the export house in good time. All the approvals are taken from the client in good time, and at the end of it, the export house is able to export the shipment at the right time, at the right place, in the right manner, in the right quality, with the right compliance to the client or the customer or the buyer. So that's pretty much what an export merchandiser is supposed to do. So the learning objectives for this particular session, we're going to talk about broadly meaning and definitions of export merchandising, and then we will be focusing on the concept of 6 rights in apparel export merchandising. Now, if you look at the concept of 6 rights in apparel export merchandising, in the apparel export business, the customer is the buyer who gives the order, and the buyer's requirements have to be fulfilled by the exporters in order to secure the payment. Now, when we are looking at export and import, so automatically we are looking at least 2 countries. The country in which the manufacturer is situated is the exporting country, and the country in which the buyer is situated is the importing country. And the apparel exporter is supposed to send the apparel shipment to the destination country, and the buyer in the destination country is supposed to make the requisite payment to the exporter. That is fairly the responsibility of the exporter and the importer respectively. And the customer is the buyer who gives the order. So exporter has to be careful enough to evaluate the order and only then take the order if the exporter feels that the exporter will be able to execute the order in the way the buyer needs. So the buyer's requirements have to be fulfilled by the exporter in order to secure the payment. If the exporter defaults on the quantity or the quality or the delivery dates or the compliance or the method and manner, the buyer will have all the right to cancel the shipment or to ask for discounts, and the exporter will have to agree to that. Now, if you look at the meaning and definition of export merchandising, as I mentioned earlier, apparel export merchandising may be defined as all the planning and activities involved right from the buyer communication and order receiving till the execution or shipment of the order by fulfilling the following factors, which are the 6 rights. So we're going to look at the 6 rights, but essentially speaking, an export merchandiser has to keep a very strict vigil on all the activities which are being undertaken related to a particular order, and ensure that all the steps which are required to be undertaken to fulfill the order, all the steps are taken at the right time, and all the required approvals are taken from the buyer, so that the export house is in a position to go ahead with the production, make the total shipment with the right quality, and then offer it for inspection. The buyer or the customer sends their representative for checking of the shipment, and once the representative says that the shipment is first class, great quality and can be shipped, then the exporter can send the shipment to the customs for custom clearance, and then the shipment by air or by sea can leave for the destination country. Now, what are the 6 rights? The 6 rights are the right time, right quality, right quantity, right price, cost, right code of conduct, and right place. If you look at the 4 P's in marketing, any brand has to be, cannot go wrong in terms of product, place, promotion, or pricing. So the product has to be right, the place has to be right, promotion has to be right, and the pricing has to be right. So similarly, we have these 6 rights when we're talking about export merchandising, and we're going to talk about each of these one by one in detail. Now, the concept of 6 rights, when fulfilled, if we fulfill all these 6 parameters, then the buyer will be satisfied, in fact delighted, and but on the other hand, if any of these, even one of these, are not fulfilled properly by the exporter, then the buyer may not be happy with this performance, and it would cast a serious aspersion on the reputation of the exporter. And if such kind of performances continues, then the buyer may reduce the orders, or sometime later in the day they may decide not to give the orders anymore. So the onus or the responsibility is entirely on the exporter to ensure that they perform well on all those 6 parameters, which is time, quality, quantity, price, code of conduct, and place. So with that, we begin with the first right, which is the right time. Now, right time is, simply put, when you are taking the order from the buyer, then there is negotiation on the price, $5, $4.90, $4.95, whatever. That's the negotiation on the price. Then you will also have a negotiation on the time, the delivery. Now, the buyer may say that I want the shipment in 30 days. And you do your calculation, your time and action and other things, and then you say that it will take at least 40 days. So the buyer says, no, I don't have that much of time, and at least give it to me in 35 days. So it's fine. I'll try to squeeze in a little bit, and instead of 40, I'll do it in 35 days. That is the negotiation on the delivery date, and that is your time. So once, as an exporter, you have agreed upon a particular date of delivery, then you have to ship it on that date. Okay. So from the exporter side, if the goods are not shipped in the correct time, if you delay it a lot, then that delay will increase the cost in production, because with every passing day, your cost of production is going to increase. With if you are able to produce a shipment in lesser number of days, it automatically means that you have spent a lesser amount of money in production. If you take more number of days, the cost of production is going to increase. So as the owner of the export house, you don't want the goods to be delayed. That is one. The second is, if you are delayed, if you're not on time, your buyer, they may ask to ship the goods through air, or may ask for a discount or cancellation of that. Now, these are the 3 most scariest things. If you are not able to send the shipment on time, the buyer says, send it by air. Air means normally the goods are exported from India by ship to the destination countries. Now, sending the goods by ship is cheap. Now, if you send the same shipment by air, it's very expensive. Now, as an exporter, if you are late, then the buyer says, I am not going to take the goods at a later date. Please send the goods by air. So, when you send the goods by air, sending the goods by air is expensive. That expense is going to eat into your margins. So, instead of, let's say, 25% margin that you are going to get on that shipment, it will come down to 15%. Why? Because you had to send the goods by air. So that's a huge loss. So one thing that the buyer can say is, send it by air. Or the buyer may say, you give me a discount. and the least discount that the buyer is going to ask is 10%. Again, going back to the margins, if you are working on 25% margin and if the buyer is asking for a 10% discount, what are you left with? Only 15%. How are you going to run the show? How are you going to run the factory? Third, the most scariest thing is the buyer says, no, you are late and I don't want your goods. Cancel it. That's the worst thing that can ever happen to an exporter. Cancellation of the order. Cancellation of the order means your entire money is gone, has gone to water. So, and normally the buyer does not cancel the order. But if you are very, very, very late, then the buyer may cancel the order. If you have made too many mistakes in the shipment, if the rejections are very, very high, and if the defects in the shipment is very, very critical, in that case the buyer will cancel the order. That is the worst thing that could ever happen to an exporter. Yeah. Next point. Next point is, and also continuous delayed shipment. If every shipment that you are sending is delayed, if there are many delayed shipments, it will affect the long-term business relationships. Now remember one thing, in exports, if you have one buyer, the buyer, unlike marketing, see, every day you may be approaching different clients, different companies for orders. They may or may not give you orders. And if they give you an order, there is no guarantee that they'll give you orders in the future also. But in case of exports, if you have one buyer, by somehow, by hook or by crook, you have been able to get in touch with one buyer and you've been able to convince that buyer that, why don't you give me a small order and, let us make something for you, and then you can see, how quick we are and what great textile products we make and what great quality we are able to give. So you are able to convince one buyer, and the buyer is ready to give you, let's say, 200 or 500 pieces of order, a test order. If you do it properly, they will give you orders on and on and on forever. That is how export-import happens. So it is very, very important to ensure that you do not adversely affect your relationship with the buyer. That will be the most suicidal thing to do. So if there are many shipments getting delayed, then the buyer will be forced to think whether they should continue to give orders to you or not. And if that thought crosses the mind of the buyer, you are in trouble. It should not happen. 1 or 2 shipments out of 10 shipments, if they get delayed, it's okay. You give the discount or whatever, and you try to keep the buyer happy. But if many shipments get delayed, then the buyer might start thinking of shifting the orders to some other factory. So please don't let that happen ever. So that is right time. And that was exporter's perspective. Now if you look at the buyer's perspective, the buyers, let's say Mango, Zara, Stradivarius, Bershka, or Fransa, there's so many buyers. So Target, Next, Tesco. Now, when these buyers make their promotional plan based on the delivery dates of the particular order. Yeah, you know the delivery dates, right? So accordingly, you do your advertising campaign and promotions and other things. So you are doing a promotional plan according to the delivery date of the particular order. Now you have already advertised, you have informed your customers, and then the goods don't come on time. What will happen? The buyer is going to lose face. The buyer's brand is going to get the beating. The brand is going to lose its name. So that's why the buyer does not like delay in the shipment. Now this delay in the shipment will cause the buyer sales loss and also sometimes customer loss. The customers will feel oh, these people, they advertise and they don't even have the goods. And these customers may not come back again. That is a customer loss. People come to your store and they see there is nothing in the store. They go back. That is the sales loss. So these are the two losses which happen, which are incurred by the buyer if the exporter does not send the goods on time. And then we come to the right quality. So we'll talk about the quality. I just have to give you one example. And that example is that of Toyota. Toyota is the largest car manufacturing and car selling company in the world. And they have taught the concept of quality to the entire world. The Toyota management of quality. Okay. So Toyota quality system. It is taught everywhere in the world. Not just in car manufacturing, everywhere. They are the ones who have taught. So that's the kind of prowess or the authority that they have in quality. Right quality, the exporter should know about the quality requirement of their buyers. Now the quality requirements may differ from buyer to buyer. Now, when you say quality, it means nothing. When you say quality, it has to be quantified. Meaning to say, one is quality in terms of characteristics. So, what is the quality of a fabric? So fabric 1 is cotton, fabric 2 is silk, and fabric 3 is polyester. So that is quality because of its inherent properties. Now the second aspect of quality is that I want a straight line. Then give me a straight line. If it is a crooked line, it is bad quality. Yeah. Now, how do we say what is good quality and what is bad quality? So you have to quantify quality. So when you make a straight line, then you tell the person that if there is a deviation in this straight line by more than 1 mm, then I'll reject it. If the deviation in the straight line is less than 1 mm on either side, then I'll accept it. Okay? So there you are defining the quality. That I'll take a straight line, and making a straight line by way of a stitch line is impossible. You cannot make perfect straight lines. But the straight line should not deviate by more than 1 mm on either side, left or right. So you are defining the quality. So what I want, if you give me that, that is right quality. If you don't give me that, that is wrong quality. And I'm going to reject that. Yeah. So there are some buyers who are very, very finicky. They will say, no, I will not give you more than 0.1 mm deviation. Right? Someone will say, I will not give you deviation. And someone will say, chalo, if there is a deviation of about 1 to 2 mm deviation, I will still take it. Not a problem. Okay? So you have all kinds of buyers. There are some who are very, very finicky, very upmarket, luxury. They cannot tolerate bad quality. They want very high quality. The level of adherence required is very high. So there are such people also, and there are other people also who buy very cheap, and therefore they don't demand a lot, and they are okay with almost anything. So so if someone does not want great quality, don't give them great quality. Then give them the level of quality that they want. If they want low quality, give them low quality. Because if you try to maintain high quality, you have to spend a lot of money and effort. If you give high quality to a low quality buyer, you'll be losing a lot of money on the margins. So give high quality to the high quality person, give normal quality to the normal quality, and low quality to the low quality buyer. So the exporter should know about the quality requirement of the buyers. The quality requirement may differ from buyer to buyer. Just like there is Shoppers Stop, there is Pantaloons, and then there is Big Bazaar. So you go to Big Bazaar and see what is the level of quality. Then you go to Pantaloons, and then you go to Shoppers Stop. And you can see the difference between these three. And you will see the difference in the prices also. And then you will see the difference in their brand positioning also. So accordingly, Big Bazaar is low quality, so the branding is accordingly. It is for the middle class people, lower middle class people, and they have a lot of merchandise on the floor, and they don't say that we are very high quality and high price luxury product. They are like typical middle class product, catering to the middle class families of India. So based on the quality requirements of the buyers, they may be classified into three categories. So right quality, we have three of them: high quality, normal quality, and low quality. So high quality conscious buyer, this is the type of buyer who is highly quality conscious. The prices are almost 2 to 3 times higher. They give great prices, but the quantities are less. They won't give you great quantities because they are premium products. So in exports, the quantities are less. It's somewhere around 100 to about 2,000 pieces. Sometimes it is less than 10 pieces also. But the prices are super great. So if you are working with designers, the quantities are always going to be less, but the prices will be very good. And the quality that they will want is going to be very high. So these high quality conscious buyers, they seek high quality level where the rejection percentage will be high, sometimes even up to 30 to 50%. So when these people, the high quality conscious buyers, when they come for inspection of the shipment, they're going to reject a lot of pieces because they are very, very, very strict with the inspections. So accordingly, you will have to be prepared. You make the shipment and be prepared that they are going to reject a lot of pieces, and they are only going to take the correct pieces, not the rejected pieces. Maybe whatever they are rejecting, you have to again work on it, make the corrections, again offer it for inspection, and if they like it, they locate, then you will be paid for that piece also. So that is high quality. Normal quality conscious buyer require the quality level that they want is normal, not very finicky, but then they still want decent quality. The prices are going to be normal, but the quantities are going to be high. So the quantities are here in case of high quality is 100 to 2,000 pieces, but in case of normal quantities, it's going to be anywhere between 2,000 to about 15,000, 20,000 pieces, 25,000 pieces. So the quantities are higher in this case. And the rejection percentage are not going to be so high. It's going to be a little less, not 30% to 50%. It's going to be as less as about 3 to 8% less. In India, normally the rejection is roughly 3 to 5%, not more than that. All the normal buyers. So when I say normal buyers, people like Next or Tesco or Zara sometimes gives you mid quantities also. Mango gives you great quantities, anywhere between 20,000 to 50,000. Walmart's, H&M, they give you very huge quantities. So those would come in the next slide. People like Tesco, Next, etc., Monsoon, Abercrombie & Fitch, or Sag Harbor, or Sandy Starkman. Sandy Starkman is again designer, a little upmarket, and the quantities are less. And there are so many more. Diesel would be upmarket, Wrangler would be middle, or Levi's, or so many others. Yeah. So the rejection percentage is less over here, about 3 to 8%. And if you look at the low quality conscious buyer, the price is far more important than quality. They're not really so interested in quality. Kata fata garment mat de do, baki aap theek thak garment de do, chale. Prices there, the price that they'll give is very, very low. Utne kam mein banana is like almost next to impossible. So you would use the cheapest of labor, you will use the cheapest of raw material and cheapest of everything. And the quality that you will try to produce is going to be of low level, and quantities are going to be high. So someone like a Walmart will give you 2 lakh, 3 lakh, 4 lakh pieces per style. That's the the quantum that they thrive on. So Mango and Zara, some of the styles, they are upwards of 50,000 pieces, 70,000 pieces. H&M, Carrefour, El Corte, and this C&A, and then your Walmart. These give you very huge quantities, and the prices are very, very low, and the quality that they want is not very high. It's low. They don't say low, but then they are a little more liberal. They're not very finicky, strict. Yeah, and then we have the quantity, right quantity. Now, remember one thing: you're making garments. You're not taking printouts, or you're not making paper. Now, what happens in manufacturing, and that too which is labor intensive, the products that you make, they are not perfect, and the rejections happen at every stage. So if you are dyeing the fabric, there will be dyeing defects. When you are stitching the garment, there will be stitching defects. If you are buttoning the garment, there will be buttoning defects. When you are packing, when you are washing, finishing, etc., there will be washing defects and packing defects. If you are counting the number of pieces, there will be counting defects. So because there are so many errors happening, so if you get an order of 2000 pieces, there is no guarantee that you will be able to make exactly 2000 pieces. So what we do is, because there are so many rejections which happen, we cut more than 2,000 pieces. So if there's an order of 2,000 pieces, we cut at least 5 to 7% extra. So 7% extra means 7% of 2,000 is 140 pieces. So you will order the fabric and everything, accessories and everything for 2,140 pieces. And then do your stitching and everything in the most diligent manner, so that you are at least able to make 2,000 pieces. Now, because there are so many errors that occur at various stages, and it is known throughout the world to everyone, that's why there is always a quantity tolerance given by the buyer, and that tolerance is normally plus minus 5%. Now this plus minus 5% means, if a buyer gives you an order of 100 pieces, then the end gives you a tolerance, a quantity tolerance of plus minus 5%. It means the buyer is saying that you will have to give a shipment which has a quantity which is not less than 95 and which is not more than 105. Okay, I am repeating. If you get an order of 100 pieces, and if the buyer is giving you a tolerance of plus minus 5% quantity, then it means 100 का 5% कितना है? 5 है. So 100 minus 5 is 95 and 100 plus 5 is 105. तो 95 से कम pieces नहीं होने चाहिए और 105 से ज़्यादा नहीं होने चाहिए. So this is the tolerance which is given by the buyer, and therefore the right quantity means, if you have an order of 100 pieces and a tolerance of plus minus 5%, then anything from 95 to 105, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, इसमें से कोई सा भी क्वांटिटी अगर आप दोगे तो buyer is going to accept it. That is the right quantity. So that is the thing that I have that is there in these slides, plus minus 5%. Although what we are saying over here is, what I have explained here is that if you are an exporter and if you are getting an order of 100 pieces, and you know that normally in your factory there is a rejection of about 2 to 3%, and this is something that I am sharing from my real experience. One of my bosses, what he used to do was, if he got an order of 100 pieces, he would order the raw material for 108 pieces. And he would give a very strict warning to the production guys that I don't want more than 3% rejection, otherwise I'm going to kill you. So he would order for 108 pieces. There would be somewhere around 2 to 3% of rejections, and we would still have 105 pieces correct. So we would send a shipment of 105 pieces. So each time we were sending 5% extra. Now getting orders is always a difficult thing. Now you have got an order of 100 pieces, and if you know that you can also send a quantity of 105 pieces, then why not send 105 pieces? Why prepare 100 pieces, and get 5 pieces rejected and then send 95? Instead, try to send 105 pieces each time. So in a way, you are increasing your order size by 5% by using this feature of plus minus 5%. So that is, and then you can see the calculation. Suppose you have got an order of 10,000 pieces. So you know that either you give quantities within less than 10,500 pieces or more than 9,500 pieces. So if someone does the planning in such a way कि किसी तरह से 9,500 pieces बना दिए, and the per piece the price that you've got is $2, और ऐसे 30 orders आपको मिले, तो साल भर में अगर 30 orders आप करते हो $2 के हिसाब से, एंड देर आर 9,500 पीसेस, तो उसमें $5,70,000 आता है। और अगर आपने 10,500 पीसेस बना दिए ओके, विच यू कैन ऑल्सो शिप, देन उस केस में आपके $6,30,000 होते हैं। तो दोनों का जो डिफरेंस आ रहा है वो आ रहा है करीब $60,000 का। तो जस्ट बाय यूजिंग दिस ±5% का जो फीचर है उसको यूज करते हुए अगर आपको 30 ऑर्डर मिलते हैं साल भर में, जिसमें कि पर क्वांटिटी आपका पर पीस जो प्राइस है वो $2 है, और टोटल ऑर्डर क्वांटिटी अगर 10,000 है, तो कम से कम $60,000 का आपको नुकसान हो सकता है अगर आप लोअर साइड में अगर आप सप्लाई करोगे। और अगर हायर साइड में आपने किया तो $60,000 का आपको फायदा हो जाएगा। $60,000 इज इक्वल टू 60,000 इज लाइक 6 लाख इंटू 7 लाख, दैट्स अबाउट 40 lakhs। 40 लाख रुपए का आपको नुकसान हो जाएगा, जो आपका 40 लाख का फायदा हो जाता। सो या, सो दैट्स अबाउट द क्वांटिटी। सो या, and how does the buyer give you the quantity? So from the buyer's perspective, suppose the right quantity is 10,000 pieces. So because the buyer places this quantity based on the sales forecast that he could sell that quantity, so if an exporter ships more quantity, that will not be a problem for the buyer, that somehow he will sell it. But if the exporter ships less quantity, then buyer loses his sale. So the buyer also does the planning and accordingly gives the order of 10,000 pieces. अभी उसको आप 10,000 से थोड़ा ज़्यादा अगर भेजोगे तो करीब वो अपना किसी भी तरह से सेल कर लेगा। बट अगर आपने 9,500 से भी कम भेजा, सो देन द चांसेस आर दैट द कस्टमर आर गोइंग टू कम टू एम्प्टी स्टोर्स, दैट विल मीन दैट द बायर इज लूजिंग सेल्स बिकॉज द एडिक्वेट क्वांटिटी वाज नॉट प्रेजेंट इन द स्टोर। अच्छा, इफ द बायर इज बाइंग समथिंग फॉर $2, then for example is buying from you at $2 and is selling at $5 in their own markets. So the same 30 orders, $5 per piece and 10,000 pieces, उसके हिसाब से if you see, तो if the buyer gets 9,500 pieces, so then the buyer will be able to make a sale of 14,25,000 pieces, $14,25,000. And if you have given the buyer 10,000 pieces, then the buyer will be able to do a revenue of $15 lakh. So the difference of $75,000 per year sales turnover will be lost if you are giving the buyer 9,500 pieces or 5% less each time. तो वो नुकसान बायर को नहीं होना चाहिए आपके वजह से। So that is about the quantity. And then we come to the right cost. Another 5 slides actually. So right price cost. Now what is the difference between price and cost? Okay, cost is the amount of money that you spend on. So what you pay for a product is a price. जितने में आपने बनाया that is your cost. अपने cost के ऊपर आप margin अपना profit जोड़ोगे और फिर आप quote करोगे, तो आप जो quote करोगे वो दूसरे के लिए उसका price है, right? Now once the price negotiation is done, उसके बाद exporter has to ensure कि आप टाइमली ऑर्डर को एग्जीक्यूट कर दो, सही क्वालिटी दे दो, सही क्वांटिटी दे दो। प्राइस अब बढ़ेगा या घटेगा नहीं, जितने पे दाम जो दाम तय हो गया उतने पे रहेगा। इन केस द बायर मेक्स एनी चेंजेस, सेज इसमें बटन चेंज कर दो, इसमें फैब्रिक मजा नहीं आ रहा है इसको बदल दो, जो भी। सो इफ द बायर आस्क फॉर एनी चेंजेस, तो उसके हिसाब से अगर योर कॉस्ट आर इंक्रीजिंग और डिक्रीजिंग, अकॉर्डिंगली यू कैन टेल द बायर फिर कॉस्ट इतना बढ़ेगा या घटेगा। घटता है तो आप बता दो, सो बायर विल ऑल्सो बी हैप्पी कि चलो प्राइस थोड़ा कम हो जा रहा है। अच्छा, ऑल्सो वंस द प्राइस हैज बीन फाइनलाइज्ड, उसके बाद एक्सपोर्टर हैज टू इंश्योर दैट जो भी कॉस्ट आपने कैलकुलेट किया था उसके अंदर में ही प्रोड्यूस कर दो। अदरवाइज अगर उतने में आपने प्रोड्यूस नहीं किया, उससे ज़्यादा में अगर प्रोड्यूस किया, तो आपके मार्जिन में से वो कटेगा और आपके प्रॉफिट्स कम हो जाएंगे। तो जो कॉस्ट आपने कोट किया है, जितना कैलकुलेट किया था, उस कॉस्ट से कम में ही बनाने की कोशिश करेंगे। नाउ सपोज एन एक्सपोर्टर सिक्योर्स एन ऑर्डर एट 125 रुपीज़, उसमें 100 रुपया उसका लागत है, 25 रुपीज़ इज द मार्जिन। ना इफ द कॉस्ट ऑफ मेकिंग इट गोज अबव 100, देन इट इज गोइंग टू ईट इनटू द एक्सपोर्टर्स मार्जिन, तो आपका मार्जिन कम हो जाएगा, आपके प्रॉफिट कम हो जाएंगे ना। पैसे बीच में बढ़ाना या घटाना नहीं चाहिए। द एक्सपोर्टर में सीक प्राइस रीनेगोशिएशन ओनली अंडर मेजर क्रिटिकल सिचुएशन, लाइक अगर इकोनॉमिक क्राइसिस है, रॉ मटेरियल अचानक से दाम बढ़ गया, रॉ मटेरियल मिल नहीं रहा है, or whatever. कोई ऐसी चीज़ होगी जो बहुत बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है और विच इज़ बियॉन्ड द कंट्रोल ऑफ द एक्सपोर्टर, ओनली देन द एक्सपोर्टर शुड आस्क फॉर अ राइज इन द प्राइस. अगर फॉर सम रीज़न यू आर एबल टू रिड्यूस द प्राइस और देर इज सम सिचुएशन बिकॉज ऑफ विच कुछ चीज़ें आपको सस्ते में मिल जाएं, देन you decide you may or may not give the pass on the reduced price to the buyer. कभी कभी दे देना चाहिए, so the buyer is also happy कि चलो हमारा एक्सपोर्टर जो है जब भी अगर कुछ कम में हो जाता तो they pass on the advantages to us also. Now we come to the most, this is my most favorite part, which is code of conduct, also called compliance. Now, most of the buyers have their own code of conduct to which the exporters have to oblige to have a business relationship. Now, COC deals with the policies, processes, labor rights, etc. Now, SA 8000 is one of the codes of conduct which is followed by the most of the buyers. Now, what is code of conduct? Code of conduct comes like a book of, it is like a booklet. So, just like you have an SOP, standard operating procedure, similarly we have a COC. Now, COC is about how do you make the product, and how do you run the factory, and how do you manage the factory, and what are the practices, how do you manage the data, and it's a large and largely it is also about the labor. How do you treat the labor, how do you pay them, and how do you keep them, and things like that. So that is part of your COC, code of conduct or compliance. And most of the buyers, they have their own code of conduct, or they will tell you that this is the code of conduct that you follow. So you can download this and you can go through it, and you have to fulfill all the requirements. Only then we will give you the order. Okay. So COC deals with the policies, processes, labor rights, etc. And SA 8000. SA means social accountability. So social accountability is related to all the social things which is related to the labor. So you don't abuse the labor, you don't use child labor, you don't discriminate between male and female. Both males and females get equal pay for equal amount of work, and you don't do discrimination like Hindu Muslim, or you don't do discrimination like someone is a gay or a lesbian, so you start making fun of that, or someone is making fun of those people, then you as an admin you stay silent about it. No, you can't do that. And then someone gets hurt, then is there first aid available? Do you have a couple of people who are trained in first aid, how to give deliver first aid and things like that? So all those things come under your social accountability 8000, which has to be followed by most of the exporters today. It has become so strict. Now the expected outcome of COC. Please remember COC. I am a specialist of COC, and in the later sessions we will have a full-blown account of what goes into a COC. And how do you ensure? See, unless your factory is compliant or is okay as per the COC, the best of the buyers, they will not be able to give you orders. जब तक आपके चेकलिस्ट में सब में ग्रीन सिग्नल नहीं होगा, आपको ऑर्डर नहीं मिलेंगे. इतना इंपॉर्टेंट है कोड ऑफ कंडक्ट. सो एनी बायर इन द वर्ल्ड, वॉलमार्ट, एबरक्रॉम्बी फिच, मैंगो, ज़ारा, H&M, किसी का भी अगर आपको ऑर्डर लेना, सबसे पहले बोले भाई हमारा COC पहले आप चेक कर लो, अपना फैक्ट्री जो है ओके कर लो. विल सेंड एन इंडिपेंडेंट ऑडिटर, दे आर गोइंग टू कम एंड चेक. इफ एवरीथिंग इज फाउंड ओके, ओनली देन वी आर गोइंग टू टॉक टू यू. Forget about the orders. We will talk to you only after that, and after we talk to you, we are happy with you, then we'll give you the orders. Now, what are the expected outcomes of COC? If you follow all these rules, then it leads to improved financial performance because you get more orders, increased customer loyalty. Though the brands which are working with you, who are giving you orders, they do not leave you because you are an ethical company. You follow the rules. You take care of your labor. You follow the government rules and other things. And then, of course, because you are a compliant or an ethical organization, you have the higher ability to attract and retain employees. And then, of course, there is reduced regulatory oversight. Now, regulation comes from the government. So, whatever regulations have been proposed by the government, if you follow the code of conduct, then the chances of you missing out on any regulatory requirement is going to be lesser. You will make lesser mistakes in terms of the regulations laid down by the government. There's going to be workforce diversity. There's going to be male, female, Hindu, Muslim, gays, lesbians, and people with different political, alignments. People from BJP, from other this thing parties, and then you'll have people who are capitalistic, who believe in capitalistic economy, and then you'll also have people who believe in centrally planned economies, and then you have left and you have right wing and things like that. So you have a diverse workforce diversity. And there's going to be product safety. You are going to make products safely because you have this system in place where the machines are checked every 15 days. Dangerous machines are clearly labeled dangerous, keep away, unauthorized person not to enter that area, and things like that. And you'll have decreased liability. Just in case anything goes wrong, किसी का accident हो गया, किसी को कुछ नुकसान हो गया, the liability is going to be less because you have taken care of all the systems. And therefore, no one will come and say that because of your negligence this fire has happened, because of your negligence this accident has happened, and therefore we will not pay the insurance amount. And therefore you will have to take care of all the the property loss and loss of life. You will have to pay for all of that. You will have to give the compensation. So if nothing is wrong in your organization, no one can claim that you were negligent, and therefore the insurance company will have to pay the compensation. And then of course you have an employee volunteer program, and so good organizations, they have employee volunteer programs where the employees, they volunteer for various kinds of social activities, plantation and other things. That automatically comes into place, and there is greater use of renewable resources. Because your code of conduct is correct, you also tend to be sustainable. And when you are sustainable, you are not using non-renewable resources, fuel. And so by way of that, you use the renewable energy more. So those are the advantages of code of conduct. And then we come to the last slide for today. Right place. Now, in domestic parlance, in domestic markets, place means आपका दुकान कहाँ पर है, शॉपिंग सेंटर में है, स्टैंड अलोन स्टोर है, it is in a mall or in some downtown or uptown or in a posh locality, or how are you selling? You're in the airports, or which way are you selling? So that's the significance of place when we talk about domestic space or in retail. Here none of this is happening. So when we say right place in exports, imports, now this term refers to making availability of the goods at the right place or destination without any problem. Right place in case of exports is, and we are going to discuss about this again in one full session is only dedicated to this place. It's called Incoterms, International Commercial Terms, and I've just mentioned half a dozen of them. There are 12 of them. Now the place can be X factory. So if you say that I am going to ready the shipment on the 12th of February, X factory, it means you are telling the buyer that the shipment will be ready and you can pick it up from just outside the factory. That's called X factory. Now if you say I'll give you the goods at the customs, let's say Mumbai port customs on 12th of February. If you say 12th February X ship, it means it is beside the ship, it has been custom cleared, it has been unloaded at from the inspection area, it has been put at the loading site, but it is not on the ship, it is beside the ship. Now it has to be loaded. So then you say it is X ship. So whenever you quote a price to an international buyer, you say USD $5 FOB. It means $5 USD $5. So when we say $5, we don't just say $5. We say $5 when the order is 5,000 pieces and it is valid for these many months, and we will be handing over the shipment to you at this point, which can be either just outside my factory or on the ship, custom cleared and loaded onto the ship, or I'll give it to you in the middle of the sea, high seas, or I will deliver it to your country not custom cleared, or I'll give it to you in your country custom cleared, loaded onto the trucks and delivered to your warehouse. So automatically, as the place changes, your price will also change and your responsibility will also change. So when you are quoting a price, you along with that you also tell the place कहाँ पर आप delivery दोगे. Now to make it very very clear to you, to illustrate it in simple terms, have you ever bought a television? तो जब आप टेलीविजन खरीदते हो तो उसका नेगोशिएट करते हो ना दाम, सारा कुछ हो गया, डिस्काउंट करा ले, सब कर लिया, अब आपने हो गया हाँ जी अब बिल काट दिया उसने. अब उसके बाद बोलता है कि आप बोलते हो अच्छा टीवी भेज दो, तो क्या बोलता है, वो कहता है आप ले जाओ. बोला हम कैसे ले जाएंगे, हमारे पास तो हम टू व्हीलर से हैं, पैदल हैं, जो भी, हम कैसे ले जाएंगे. तो बोले सर बाहर में वो है ठेले वाला, आप ले जाओ. तो बोला अरे ये तो आपने तो ये तो आप फ्री होम डिलीवरी होना चाहिए. वो कहता है हम तो कभी नहीं डिलीवरी करते, आपको जैसे ले जाना ले जाओ, हमने तो कभी नहीं बोला था कि हम वो देंगे. राइट. अब आप कहते हो अच्छा कार्टेज कितना लेगा, बोला आप बात कर लो, हम बुला देते हैं, आप बात कर लो कितना लेगा, 100 200 500, फिर आप उससे बात करते हो. अब आप कहते हो कि भाई अगर वो रास्ते में टूट गया तो, कुछ भी डैमेज हुआ तो दुकानदार क्या बोलता है, आपको ठेले वाले से ले जाना है, ठेले में डाल के आप ठेले में ले जाओ, ठेला वाला बाहर खड़ा है, आप बात कर लो. व्हेन यू बाय अ टेलीविजन फ्रॉम अमेजोन और वो डोर डिलीवरी होम डिलीवरी है, तो आपके घर तक वो डिलीवर करेगा और वो सही कंडीशन में होगा, तो वहाँ तक की रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी अमेजोन ले रहा है. लेकिन जब आप दुकानदार से खरीदते हो तो दुकानदार कहता है भैया यहीं पर रहे, आप बोलोगे तो मैं लोड करा दूंगा आपकी गाड़ी में या जिसमें भी, उसके बाद हम रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी इसकी नहीं ले रहे. एंड यू डोंट फील ग्रेट अबाउट इट, राइट. अब मान लो रास्ते में अगर उसमें कुछ नुकसान हो गया तो आप क्या करोगे. जब आप अमेजोन या किसी से लोगे फ्लिपकार्ट से, तो वो तो आपको घर में डिलीवरी दे रहा है, तो वो घर पे जो डिलीवरी दे रहा है तो वहां तक का सारा जिम्मेदारी वो खुद ले रहा है. राइट. तो अगर उसमें कुछ भी अगर गड़बड़ हो तो आप उसको वापस कर सकते हो. तो उस केस में क्या करना होता है वो उसके बारे में आपने अभी बताया. व्हाट आई एम सेइंग इज कि जब आप लोकली जब आप खरीदते हो तो उस केस में आप ठेले पे डाल करके जब ले जाओगे और ठेले वाले को किसी ने ठोक दिया और टेलीविजन गिर गया, टूट गया, अब आप किसको पकड़ोगे. और वर्ल्ड वाइड इंटरनेशनली इट इज़ अ रूल कि जो कैरियर है ना उसका लिमिटेड लाइबिलिटी होता है, और पूरा लाइबिलिटी नहीं उठाएगा आपके गुड्स का, उसका एक लिमिट बंधा हुआ होता है 50,000 रुपीज़ इंडिया में. तो ट्रक से किसी चीज़ से कुछ भी आप भेजोगे ना तो 50,000 से ज़्यादा वो कॉम्पनसेशन देगा ही नहीं, चाहे इतना भी नुकसान हो जाए. तो अगर 50,000 से ज़्यादा का वैल्यू का कोई भी चीज़ आप भेजोगे ट्रक से किसी भी चीज़ से, तो आपको इंश्योरेंस लेना है. बट जब हम टेलीविज़न खरीदते तो हम उस वक्त हाथ के हाथ तो इंश्योरेंस लेते नहीं कि भाई ये दुकान से मेरे घर तक जाएगा, उस बीच में कुछ भी होगा उसका मुझे इंश्योरेंस खरीदना है. कोई नहीं खरीदता. अब आपको नहीं अच्छा लग रहा है कि आप होम डिलीवरी नहीं देता, हमारे को तो सब होम डिलीवरी देता है. दुकानदार कहता है भाई हमने तो आज तक किसी को नहीं होम डिलीवरी दी, 25 साल से हम काम कर रहे हैं. अब दोनों लड़ रहे हैं, ये तो गलत बात है. क्यों हो रहा है ये डायलॉग और क्यों ये लड़ाई हो रही है? बिकॉज लैंग्वेज जो है वो क्लियर नहीं था शुरू से. दुकानदार ने आपसे वो दुकानदार ने बोला नहीं कि भैया मैं ये जो दाम बता रहा हूँ सिर्फ टीवी का दाम बता रहा हूँ, ले जाना पड़ेगा आपको खुद, रास्ते में कुछ टूट फूट है तो आपको खुद समझना हो, तो आप इंश्योरेंस को आपको अगर लेना तो आप ले लो, मैं अरेंज करा दूंगा. इंश्योरेंस वाले को मैं फ़ोन से बात करा देता हूँ या इंश्योरेंस वाले यहीं बैठा है उससे बात कर लो, जो भी है, लेकिन रास्ते का जो भी लाइबिलिटी है वो मेरा नहीं होगा, वो आप ही को करना पड़ेगा. तो ये शुरू में बात करना चाहिए, शुरू से बताना चाहिए जब नेगोशिएशन हो रहा है. तो दुकानदार बताता नहीं है, आप पूछते नहीं हो कि भैया डिलीवरी तो फ्री होगा ना, क्योंकि टीवी खरीदे हमें तो याद ही नहीं होता. राइट. ब्रेड खरीदते, मैगी खरीदते, तब ये पूछते हैं नहीं, क्योंकि वो तो हाथ में कैरी कर सकते हैं. बट एक्सपोर्ट इंपोर्ट में ये सारी चीज़ें बिल्कुल तरीके से होती है और वो रिटर्न में होगी, और पहले से ही ये क्लियर होगा कि भाई कहाँ से लेके कहाँ तक जिम्मेदारी किसकी होगी. सो इफ़ आई एम सेइंग कि मैं आपको बॉम्बे के पोर्ट में शिप में चढ़ा के दूंगा, इट मीन्स कि सपोज मैंने पटना में बनाया या पंचकुला में बनाया, सपोज पंचकुला में मैंने बनाया, वहाँ से मैंने भेजा, रास्ते में अगर कुछ हुआ तो वो मैं देखूँगा। तो पंचकुला फैक्ट्री से लेकर के बॉम्बे पोर्ट पर चढ़ाने तक, शिप में चढ़ाने तक कहीं कुछ भी होगा उसका इंश्योरेंस मैं लेके रखूँगा। तो कुछ भी होगा तो इंश्योरेंस एजेंसी से मैं पैसे दूंगा। एक बार मैंने शिप में उसको डाल दिया तो उसके बाद का जो इंश्योरेंस है वो बायर लेगा, और उसके बाद कुछ भी होगा तो वो बायर समझेगा। सो व्हेन यू आर डूइंग बिजनेस एट एनी गिवन पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम बिटवीन एनी गिवन स्ट्रेच, जो प्रोडक्ट है वो इंश्योर्ड हो। आप जैसे फैक्ट्री जाकर चलाओगे तो फैक्ट्री में रॉ मटेरियल हो, सेमी फिनिश्ड गुड्स हो, फिनिश्ड गुड्स हो, सब इंश्योर्ड होता है। फैक्ट्री में जितने मशीन्स हैं इंश्योर्ड होते हैं, फैक्ट्री में जितने लोग काम करें वो भी इंश्योर्ड होते हैं। बिजनेस ऐसे ही होता है। लेकिन घर पे आपके सारे लोग इंश्योर्ड नहीं है, आपका घर इंश्योर्ड नहीं है, और बिजनेस तो इस तरह से नहीं कर सकते। सो व्हेन यू आर डूइंग बिजनेस द लैंग्वेज इज वेरी वेरी क्लियर, और एक्सपोर्ट इंपोर्ट में स्पेशली जो लैंग्वेज है वो एकदम ही क्लियर होता है, उसमें कहीं भी एम्बिग्विटी के लिए जगह नहीं होता है। क्योंकि अगर उसमें थोड़ा सा भी एम्बिग्विटी हुआ तो आपने बोला कुछ और मैंने समझा कुछ, और फिर उसमें कम्युनिकेशन गैप रह जाएगा, और फिर इंटरनेशनल बिजनेस हो नहीं पाएगा। तो पूरी दुनिया जो इंटरनेशनल बिजनेस करती है वो सारे स्मार्ट लोग होते हैं, और लैंग्वेज बिल्कुल सधा हुआ होता है। अगर मैंने ए बोला तो ए ही समझेंगे, बी बोला तो बी ही समझेंगे। तो वो पूरा वोकैबुलरी जो है वो बना हुआ है, नया वर्ड उसमें यूज नहीं होता। वो जो फिक्स्ड वोकैबुलरी है, ग्लॉसरी है, उसी से ही वर्ड यूज करके हम कम्युनिकेट करते हैं। हमारा जो बिजनेस कम्युनिकेशन होता है उसमें जो भी हमारा इन्वॉइस होगा, पैकिंग लिस्ट होगा, कमर्शियल इन्वॉइस होगा, कुछ भी होगा डॉक्यूमेंट, वो सारा उसी फॉर्मेट में ही बनता है। अपने से दिमाग बिल्कुल नहीं लगाना, सारे टर्म्स, टर्मिनोलॉजी, वोकैबुलरी फिक्स्ड है। दैट्स हाउ वी डू इंटरनेशनल बिजनेस। क्योंकि फिर आप इंडिया से फ्रांस में भेजोगे तो फ्रांस वाले को तो और अंग्रेजी नहीं समझ में आती, तो उसको जितनी अंग्रेजी समझ में आती है उसको उतनी ही अंग्रेजी बोलना है। तो वो इंटरनेशनल जो इंग्लिश है उतना ही समझे, और आपको वही वाले इंग्लिश में उसको समझाना, राइट? सो दैट इज अबाउट द राइट प्लेस। दैट ब्रिंग्स अस टू द एंड ऑफ दिस सेशन.